So, great. We're starting a little bit late. We'll probably have people join us. Just make room, feel inviting. I'm going to moderate best I can by way of introducing JoAnn Dorio-Burton, who I've known for the past 6 or so years through Windhorse, but I know has a longer, illustrious career in mental health partners, doing community work in a clubhouse model, developing programming, and really just helping a lot of people by inviting and broadening this topic. So really appreciate knowing you. And then the work we've done in community programs here has applied that and translated through the Windhorse model, brought more into the Windhorse model, and more to come. So this is the Lungta and the excitement that you've helped start. Thank you, JoAnn, and welcome.
So I'm just so excited that people came to this, because I know, honestly, I know we're up against psychotherapy. So cool, all the chairs are filled, so cool. So I'm JoAnn, and I've been at Windhorse now, it'll be 6 years in August, which I can't believe. I spent 23 years at Boulder Community Mental Health Center. So some familiar faces. And yes, I was at the Clubhouse program for 16 years, and I know our friends from Massachusetts, big Clubhouse state, so yay. So I wanted to start today because we're talking about community. Community programs has 3 components to that. So we do a lot of social activities, we have an educational component, and then we help people with employment. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just kind of the intent, as I see it, around community programs and how it relates to recovery. Actually, you're going to be talking about that. And then Samantha and Laura are going to talk about their experiences in community programs. Laura's a peer support. Samantha's a valued community member. And then we have Jamie, who's our director. Judy will talk about supported employment, so we work closely together. And then we'll switch over to Mindful Works. So how does that sound for our time together? Okay. So, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. We're not going to really have a very good recording if we don't use a microphone.
Can you all hear me? Okay.
It's the recording.
I know. I got the lecture.
It's just not usually this shy.
But it's hard.
Well, think about it
Thank
as
you.
a benefit for others.
I'll just
But
put
I
it near
can't
you.
do 2 things, and as Samantha knows, I need to be by the flip chart.
Start
I
over.
need my flip chart. All right, Mike's our handy dandy guy.
And if you just come to this side, yeah, great.
All right. So, all right, so I'm going to ask everybody just to close your eyes for a moment and to think about a time in your life where you had to recover from some event. So it could be the end of a relationship, divorce, an illness, trauma, a loss of a job, death of someone close. So just think about an event that really maybe took you off balance. So as you think about that, think about some of the challenges that you faced. What kind of emotions came up for you? Did you have to make changes in your life? What was that like for you? And now think about what was helpful to get you through that recovery process. Okay, and when you're ready, come back to the room. So let's start by talking about challenges. So what kind of challenges were people up against? And if you can say, if you're willing to share what you were in the midst of the recovery process. So what was the life event? Yeah,
Yeah, I guess the challenge is that you're worth a damn, and the event was coming back from Iraq.
coming back from Iraq, and what was the,
That you're worth a damn, or that there's there's something to do, like an existential meaning.
okay,
Yeah.
so, I like that, so a travel back to US, and starting to question kind of your worth, your, who am I?
How do I operate in the world as an ethical person?
Oh, okay. Okay, other? I'm gonna just write. Someone else want to share?
I will.
Yep,
Cancer
yep,
twice. And the challenge was a normally reliable body becoming unreliable
yeah.
for a time. I
Yeah,
will.
that's big change, right? Big challenge.
Yeah, in the prospect of death, of early death.
Yeah. Okay, Kathy?
My event was July 1st, 2017, when my father died. And he had been my best friend for 52 years. And my challenge was to deal with my grieving process at the same time as remembering my roles as wife and mother and everything that I needed to do for other people and myself while going through the grief process.
So grieving while you still have to do your life.
Right.
Yeah. Anyone else? Paul?
Early childhood, my mother died, and that was brought on pretty much what I would call today a sort of a somatic depression that is just kind of an ongoing thing that you rectify through various means that I've taken.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Kathy?
Divorce. Divorce and social cutoff.
Right, some friends have to go with the husband, some friends go with the other partner, and, yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
A friend's suicide. And I'd say just as having been a male in society for so long, just being able to get in touch with my actual grievance.
Okay. So what, let's, next question about what is helpful. What was helpful to you during that process? What are the kinds of things that were helpful getting through?
Sleeping.
Sleeping? Community? So community, friends, the family,
Yeah.
neighbors,
People that feel trust.
okay? All of that?
Time.
Time?
Good literature.
So reading, was it inspirational literature? Mhm.
Some novels. You can't go home yet.
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
Practice.
okay, so meditation and practice? Yep. Art.
Hot showers.
We'll put that under self-care with sleeping.
Access to good medical care.
Okay. Anything else?
Folk dancing at the University of Chicago with my mother.
Oh,
Attending me.
so,
I hate to cue this up. Work that meant something to me.
so work or meaningful activity, thank you for that, Chuck. I know when I was going through my divorce, work was my sanity, right? I got to take a break from my mind.
Not necessarily for myself, but well, not that necessarily speaking of my own experience, but on travel.
Travel? Yeah.
Friends with a sense of humor.
Friends with a sense of
Thank you
humor.
for saying that, George.
Laughter.
I'm putting friends and humor underlining that one. Anything else that was helpful?
Nature, walks in nature,
Yeah.
prayer.
Nature. So let's put the whole spirituality. Okay. Anything else
I'm
that
gonna
was
put down
helpful?
helping others.
Being of service to others. Yeah.
Service to others.
Anything else? Okay, so this is the lead-in to community programs. So we don't cover all of this, but we cover a lot of this. And we really offer opportunities for community, sometimes sleeping, no. But we do offer good meals, nutritious meals, I hope, we think they are. The opportunities to help others and be of support to others. Meditation, we're learning all of that in classes. We do art. We haven't done folk dancing, Kathy. I'm gonna call you in August. We're gonna go folk dancing. Nature, yes. Humor, I hope that we laugh a lot in our program. Meaningful work, absolutely. So just opportunities, I believe, a very important part of what we do at Windhorse to help people on the recovery process, in the recovery journey. So I'm going to turn it over to Samantha. Samantha, oh, let me just say that some of you, I made only 20 copies of our schedule. So if you're if for those who are not from 1200 Yarmouth, it would be good to get a copy. And you can see some of the activities and classes we offer. This was the May schedule. So I mentioned we have social activities, educational classes, we offer supported employment. So we offer a menu, so we have large groups, small groups, we have open activities, and we also have invite-only activities. So welcome, Samantha.
I don't want to hold it.
See, I'm not the only one. Thank you, Samantha.
Okay, is this working?
Yes.
My name is Samantha. I've pretty much sampled everything that community programs has to offer. So I've done supported employment, the classes, the groups, volunteering, and it was hard to know what to really speak about exactly in 5 minutes. So I just wrote up 4 community programs vignettes, just about different snapshots of my time in Windhorse and how that looked. And I talk about work and I talk about the groups and a little, maybe I don't know about the classes, but anyway, so community programs vignettes. I am new to Windhorse, fattened by psych meds and sadness. Every week, Jamie picks me up for walking group at Wonderland Lake. There usually aren't very many other people, and sometimes it is just the 2 of us. I feel that my chemical-ridden body in its dirty parka does not belong in nature. No matter how terrible the weather, Jamie talks about how beautiful this lake looks and how happy he is to be walking with me. His enthusiasm is genuine. He slows his pace to mine and stops with me when I need to rest. I begin to feel welcomed by Jamie, the lake, and myself. My favorite activity in social rec group is putt-putt. In my spare time, I have listened to sad music, I have written poetry, and I have joined Facebook groups for people with mental illness, but never before in my life have I played miniature golf. I am learning or relearning how to have fun. We go to the concession stand and eat nachos and soft pretzels, and then we play. The stream trickles, the breeze blows through the trees, and I relax, hitting a hole in one the first time. Beginner's luck, they say. One day during putt-putt, my mood turns dark. Someone puts a hand on my shoulder. I'm working at a bookstore. I take 2 buses, bring Russian poetry to read on the way. I am just a regular person on the bus, just a regular person going to work. My problems are, for once, set aside. I sort the books quickly and rarely make mistakes. Is this what healing is? Sometimes I am able to lead a customer to the book they want, sometimes I am not. I wear cute shoes and pretty dresses, and the other girls who work there ignore me. I want an adventure. Health can be boring. One day, a woman who worked with me in a treatment center a long time ago comes in. "Samantha," she cries, surprised, "you're still alive." The fear returns, and I'm lying in a corner during Inspiration Club. My anxiety makes my knees shaky, and it's hard to stand or sit. Over the year that I am in Inspiration Club, I relearn how to sit in a chair, how to leave the house, how to eat at a table with others. It is a journey. In class, I define my thoughts as catastrophizing, fortune-telling, and mind-reading. I go to Mindful Works and make lavender lotion. Inspiration Club, with its discussion of the hero's journey, with its cranberry spritzer and familiar faces, is an anchor. Everything before might have just been beginner's luck. I start again.
That was profound. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Man. Hi, my name is Laura Reynolds, and I had undiagnosed mental illness as a child, and I didn't know about it until I was in my 30s, and I was involved with a church that didn't believe in medication, so I didn't have any kind of treatment up until about age 50. And so it's been a heck of a ride, and I had a lot of drama and trauma, and my life was a well-intentioned train wreck. I ended up blowing up my life in 2015, and I had lost my job. I really was trying to build a life, but for some reason, I couldn't manage. And wow, that was, yeah, it's like, it's funny, if you don't really know what's going on, it's hard to build. So anyhow, I ended up going through DVR to Windhorse. It was one of many things that I reached out for. I don't know what gave me the wisdom to realize that I needed help, but I needed all of the help I could get because I was devastated. And so I ended up going to a job. See, this is why I wrote it down. I knew my mind would go blank, just went blank. It was like a job search class, and then a socialization class, and then addictions and substance. I can't remember the exact titles. I apologize. But so I was doing that, and then it came up to take the peer support training. I had that opportunity. And so I was like, what the heck? I like people, and I like listening to people, and I like, relating to people. So let me do that. And I went down to Denver and did that. It took a couple of weeks of several, 8-hour days to get the training. And anyhow, the point being is being a peer. It's interesting. JoAnn had me come on board as a peer recently, and actually working as a peer, I understand what the value of having a peer on the team is. We had a few moments in the Inspiration Club where things were said amongst the group, and somehow I called it like a profound moment of validation happened. And what it was recently was the depersonalization. That was, we had 3 people in the room, including myself, where we were just like, whoa, that's what it was, because Samantha had been describing something she'd gone through, and then I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like doing some gestures about kind of the same thing that I was going through. And then another person had the aha, oh, that's what's happening to me. It was profound. And we all, I think, came away with a greater awareness of what was going on with us. And what I thought was really interesting about that was that because of moments like that where something felt crazy and then we get to feel normal, it was powerful. And so it's a wonderful experience. It's a real challenge. I'm fluttering inside right now, and my anxiety is like sky high, but I love that, we can change. And that's what my life's all about now. And thank you very much.
So we can pass the microphone to Jamie.
Hi.
And I do want to say that we're really fortunate to have Laura as part of our team at Community Programs. So she's been with us now about a month, but we've been working with Laura a couple of years. We met you through DVR, through the classes, and kind of helped you with the whole peer support and doing an internship. And then we kind of recruited Laura to come in and work with us. So we're really blessed. And Laura brings a real specialty because she knows the recovery process inside and out and can speak to it and also provide people hope. So I really appreciate that. So thank you, Laura.
I say hear, hear. So I'm Jamie Emery. I'm a retired director of Windhorse fairly recently. And one of my roles as a director.
It's only being recorded. It's not amplified in the room.
Not close it. This is good. Okay. Was keeping an overview and helping with community programs. And fortunately, there's a lot of talented people. JoAnn, Judy, Stephanie here? She was here. Samantha. There's just a whole talented, now Laura, the whole talented Persephone, a whole talented group of folks. Mike, of course, sorry. And he's talented too. Anyway, a lot of talented people coming together. So it's quite a culture. It's quite a gathering of folks doing some very interesting activities. My training was undergrad psychology, and then also doing a master's in contemplative psychotherapy here at Naropa. And so I was trained as a contemplative psychotherapist. And when the opportunities came up to participate in activities, I didn't always take them initially, and then an opportunity came up where I was going to be very much involved with the program altogether, and I thought to myself, the only way to really understand this is to actually be running an activity, and that was the walking group. And Samantha, thank you for your thoughts. The feeling is strictly mutual. We've had so much fun for years now, and Samantha's family, and one of the things then, what my journey has been with this is, what is therapeutic? So when you go through this program at Naropa, there's a particular view about what is therapeutic. And it's really focused in a neat way, in a deep way, but it's really focused on being a psychotherapist with folks. What if you're a social worker? What is therapeutic? What if you have a whole background in doing social work, activity work, this kind of thing? And so I had a lot to learn in the process that actually this is profoundly therapeutic, the activity. The walking group was actually, for me, speaking of mutual recovery, profoundly therapeutic. And many great connections and relationships and things have happened over the years. So I just wanted to highlight that, because it's really, when you go from discipline to discipline, it's sometimes really hard to make the leap from one discipline to another. And inevitably, what I found out is that there's no leap. It's actually the kernel of what each discipline is practicing actually has deep roots in what we call at Windhorse relational medicine. So, and the other phrase I just wanted to highlight is there's also a phrase at Windhorse called mutual recovery, and really, I was trying to find a definition of that recently, but really it has to do with that everybody benefits. Everybody's in recovery to one degree or another. Everybody's waking up to one degree or another on their journey on the planet. And that if we can share that together and acknowledge that. So quite frankly, I learned, I think, a lot more than anyone else that was doing the walking group, although that's a little presumptuous for me to say that. But it really felt that way. I learned just an amazing amount about what's therapeutic and what's mutually therapeutic.
Judy is my colleague. I've known Judy a long time. We've worked together at the Mental Health Center, and then I kind of recruited Judy to help me again with employment, and she's kind of on a path at Windhorse now, and really been very helpful with a lot of our folks that want to go back to work.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I got my master's here at Naropa in somatic psychology, and I became an employment specialist. It's funny, where your path can lead you. I'm not sure what I want to say about employment, except that it's deeply a therapeutic process, as Jamie was just talking about. If you ever think about when you were looking for a job and how you kind of are, you're putting yourself out there. It's exhausting, you're getting turned down, you're getting evaluated, you're getting looked at. And it's not necessarily a fun process until you maybe get that job offer. So when people come to me, I keep that in mind. And I kind of like to preface it, where are you at with this? Where do you want to go? And a lot of people have no idea, in fact, just like any of the rest of us. And so part of my job is really to help people figure out where they want to go and how to get there. And really to just be a guide. There's a practical piece to it too. It's amazing how many people don't even know where to begin with a resume or a cover letter or an interview. So I help them with that. I don't know, for people thinking of implementing a program with employment as a facet of it, we partner with Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, so this is just kind of the nuts and bolts, and they do help with some of the funding. So if you want to learn more about that, I can talk to you after this. We also partner with Sue. A lot of people want sort of a stepwise approach to returning to employment, and Sue's and Mindful Works is a really nice landing. And then Sue and I and the person can collaborate and say, are you ready for the next step? And I find that more often the case with folks who are re-entering the world of employment is they want a sort of a stepping stone approach. I get very few people telling me, I'm ready to get back out there, let's do it. People sort of enter my office with some trepidation, and who wouldn't? It's hard to return to the world, and Samantha, I loved your vignette about going to the bookstore and feeling ordinary and how boring that could feel to you. Because I think that's what happens sometimes. I know. And you weren't a big fan of that job, if I remember right.
I like the job, but I just, the other people who work there were very distant.
Well, and that's a great point, too, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. They feel like people are ignoring them or treating them differently. And so part of my job, too, is to work with people once they're on the job. That's really where the work begins, is what's coming up now that you're on the job, and what are you struggling with, and how can you work with that, so that it's a success story, you know, rather than something where you're set up for failure from the get-go. Yeah, you know, I was thinking this morning, what's so important about employment? And I think that, you know, as kids, we're always asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And for someone who doesn't know or is too scared to say it, part of the work is figuring out what you want to be when you grow up and how to get there. So there's so much to it. It's not just getting a job. So JoAnn once said to me, she said, we have the hardest jobs out there, and it feels that way sometimes. But there's some really amazing stories of where work becomes sort of the antidote to someone's struggles. So I think that's all I want to say.
Well, maybe just speak to the menu, like, you know,
Oh.
kind of the through sites,
Okay.
throughs, and supported employment.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, we're always sort of brainstorming how to have a supported work experience. So at Windhorse, we have played around with a bunch of different things. We had a volunteer site at a local assisted living, and I think a couple of the people are still there volunteering on their own now. It was staff to begin with. And then we developed a site where Windhorse staff goes out with 3 people to begin with to the Omni Hotel, and we folded towels. And then, you know, provided transportation. So that we called that sort of a supported work crew for someone who felt like they couldn't get to work on their own. I guess the next level would really be someone who feels like they can't approach an employer, or they don't have a work history, and they want us to go job develop on their behalf. So we've created partnerships with a lot of employers in Boulder. Naropa was one of them, and basically had a conversation with the employer and said, we want to advocate for this person. And so it's a very supported experience. And oftentimes Division of Voc Rehab will pay for what's called a paid work experience, where the person can learn the job and then get reimbursed for a short amount of time, and then the employer can take them on as a regular employee. So there's a bunch of ways that we can create jobs. And then finally, there's kind of the independent job seeker who just says, I need help. How can you help me? So I help people a lot with resumes, and just really presenting professionally to the world, and hopefully getting that job that they're looking for. That sum it up?
Yeah, so, you know,
Okay.
so we always follow the lead of the job seeker. So some folks really want us to advocate for them. They want us to open up the doors, but the assumption will be that they'll work independently after kind of a training period. Other people don't want the employers to know, and so that's where Judy's working a lot with the person behind the scenes. So the intent is that the person will actually apply for the job and go on the interview, but the employer does not know that Windhorse is working on kind of supporting them. So we really try to offer a menu and follow, just because we have lots of different people who want different services and need different levels of support.
Yeah.
That's what we call it, stealth force.
Stealth force.
All right, so should we turn it over to our partners in crime?
So are we ready for the video? No, I'm going to introduce it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I'm Sue Williams with Mindful Works, and I'm happy to be joined by Persephone, one of our star apprentices. What we'd like to do, first, I'd like to thank you all for being here. As JoAnn said, we thought, oh, how can we compete? But thank you all, because the good news is work works. It is evidence-based. It is scientifically proven that having a job helps recovery. With that, I'd like to show you our shop, Mindful Works. And I know the lighting isn't perfect, but I think you can get an idea of what we do. The whole thing was shot and narrated by an apprentice. So I think she did a terrific job. Oh, there she is.
And I am a seamstress intern here at Mindful. Ladies and gentlemen, I am April, and I am a seamstress intern here at Mindful Works. I'm so pleased to be with you. For those who don't know exactly what Mindful Works is and what we do, we are a nonprofit social enterprise, and our mission is all about working with people who've had some mental health challenges that created some barriers they'd like to work through. Some of those skills we focus on are arriving on time, work-appropriate attire, working on a team and achieving constructive criticism, plus just taking a project from start to finish in an organized fashion. And then we take all of those apprentices and encourage them back into the traditional labor market, back into school, or wherever they'd like their path to take them. We have a staff of 2 interns, 8 apprentices, and countless magical volunteers. And starting in the fall, we're excited to welcome another social work intern. Plus, who can forget Sue, Becky, and the board of directors? We wouldn't be here without all of their hard work. Now, we accomplish our mission through job training and real employment, which means all of the apprentices learn how to make all the wonderful products behind me. Let me take you a quick tour of some of the samples that we have. So we have a couple of poofs in some of our fun different sizes. We have a neck wrap and eye pillow. We got our little baddie over here. Then we also have a bunch of fun throw pillows. And who can forget our lovely flagstaff. And then here's a few more of our meditation products. We've got some Zafus, a rectangle meditation cushion, a crescent, and one of our lotus meditation cushions. Now we have just a few of our bath and body products. We have some sugar scrubs as well as some whipped body butter. Now I'm going to take you on a quick tour through our kitchen.
So all these wonderful products are on sale. Just to let you know. So
In the lower lobby?
first
In the lower
come, first
lobby.
served.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where are they for sale, Joy?
In the main atrium
area.
Yeah, where the cafe is, there's a table there.
One of our apprentices is handling that. And he'd love your sale, your purchase, because he gets commission.
And they take credit cards.
Oh, yes. Okay. So we had to shoot it in 3 videos because we're moving to different places.
Oh, alrighty, here is some of the kitchen that we are doing. Over here we have 2 stations. Over here on the left we are making some fun dog biscuits. And then over here on the right, we are making some orange cranberry cookies. And then we have some people washing some dishes.
Good stop.
One more.
All right.
And here we have our actual little shop. Because most of the apprentices are in the kitchen right now, it's kind of empty. But we do have a couple of our magical volunteers working on some of our fun products. Looks like Pat over here is working on a cute elephant bolster. And then we have another one of our apprentices, or not apprentices, volunteers working on a liner. And then we have the apprentice over here doing some fun serging. And then can't really see it very well, but here's where my normal station is, and I'm not there at the moment. Then we've got some lunch breaks. And then we have more stuff and the closet. You never know what's in there. And here's all of the other fun stuff that's going on at the computer. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, obviously.
Sue, do you think it would be worth mentioning where the shop is?
Oh, yes, definitely. Thank you. So we are fortunate enough to have a community partner, the First Congregational Church of Boulder, which is right downtown, and we rent space from them. And they have been a tremendous partner, tremendously supportive. We rent this much space, but Monday through Friday we spill out into all parts of the church, and it's wonderful. We just have to go back in Friday before for choir practice, and they also are letting us use their wonderful commercial kitchen at no charge. Their hope is that we eventually make products and can sell them at a profit and then pay rent. So it's a wonderful partner, and we're really, really happy to be there. I'm only going to briefly introduce you in addition to what you've seen and let Persephone talk about employment. But I just want to review. Mindful Works started in 2015. We are a nonprofit social enterprise, which means we are a business that has a social impact purpose. So there's two parts to us, and sometimes it gets challenging to balance, but it introduces people who want to make work part of their recovery to the real world. What we make, what Persephone works on, what the other apprentices make, and it used to include Laura. Yes.
I was one of those
Yes, seamstresses. And Samantha comes and works with the body products on Monday, and for sale, you know.
And Allie. Allie's here too.
And Allie has been with us also, working on body products and dog biscuits, which is a whole new venture for us. But as part of making it, we're just not making these things for craft events and isn't that nice? No, we have to turn around and sell them, which means they have to be something the market will pay for. And we have to price them at something the market will pay. And it has to be of a quality that's competitive. And it has to have the right labeling, which we really struggle with. As much as we want to do everything ourselves, there are some things that you have to turn to the professionals if you want to be competitive. So people who want to make work part of their recovery, and they need a stepping stone, they need a transitional space. That's what we are. And we offer people, as Persephone's going to talk about, all different parts of experience around a business. So we have a website, we have online sales, we have sales direct DTC, direct to consumer, at markets. We have some of our goods in stores. We have to take photographs and upload that to the website and have a full description so that people know what they're buying. We have to deal with shipping. We have to deal with sales tax in multiple jurisdictions. We have to pay the state. We have to do a 990. We have all the parts of a business, as well as helping people develop their soft skills, most importantly, their confidence to return to the traditional labor market or return to school. And it sometimes is a road that's longer than, when JoAnn and I envisioned this, the road is longer than we thought. But the research shows that it is a long road. Because what we're talking about is helping people deal with an employment obstacle. And sometimes that obstacle is large, and it has been there for a while. So chipping away at that obstacle, chipping away at stigma, helping people with a recent job history, a letter of recommendation, and to say, I have done all of these things as they turn outward to the community, has been very important, but not without dings against the business. So that's what we're always balancing. Samantha, you said something so profound, a regular person going to work. And that's really what we're trying to help people develop. You have a job, so when someone says, so what do you do when they meet you? You don't say, oh, I deal with my symptoms. You say, I work. I go to Mindful Works. I get paid Colorado minimum wage. I have a job. It's just a different mindset. And as Samantha knows, Samantha and Persephone knows, we count on people to show up because they have a job to do. We count on them to make these products so we can go to the market. So there is an expectation that when you come to Mindful Works, you're ready to work. One of our apprentices, Reed, is out in the lobby area, atrium, selling Breezeway, selling some of the wonderful things, all handmade here in Boulder by our apprentices. So I encourage you to help him earn commission because he really enjoys that. And I've said enough. I think you really want to hear from Persephone.
Oh, okay. Hello, thank you for having me here. I was asked to just give a little bit of a reflection on the benefits of Mindful Works, to build a little bit on what Sue was saying. The first four things that I thought of were I'm sorry if I'm repeating you, but tactile work for a restless mind and a restless person. The tactile work is very important for people who are struggling with their minds. Good self-esteem and feelings of belonging, social validation, and also just feelings of accomplishment are very important. And in addition to receiving help for your, you could just be in help for your person, you're also in a productive place. And I think that's very important. So I said this aspect of recovery or of therapeutic life is very important and vital for humans thrive in a structure, and most and many people lose their way solely on the basis of not having a structure, a work ethic, or a stable routine to their life. It's also why a lot of people turn to religion and other things for that, just doing the same thing over and over routinely. So for me, the positivity in my work environment aids in my overall feelings of self-worth, and it is soothing to work with materials and fabrics, sewing machines, like the rhythm of the sewing machine, the grains, which reminds me a lot of farm work, which I've done a lot of in my life, and the oils, and also being able to bake in the kitchen, which is something I get pushed out of the kitchen a lot, so it's nice when someone sends me in there to participate. And Sue always makes sure that it's a good time and that everyone, you know, you're not just there you're not just there, you're not, you know, I think the difference of a therapeutic climate is that someone is kind of looking out for your betterment. And I did say that, you know, many people turn to gardens for a similar therapeutic offering or service, which I know that Windhorse has. But I find that Mindful Works has a similar, that sewing and that has a similar aid in our recovery. Also, giving people who are ailing or with some sort of special needs employment and a container for that employment, I think is a very high-level service project and alleviates those who are afflicted on the basis of their health or the afflictions of the society or problems created by our world. So you could say that nonprofits set up in this way, they are kind of relieving not just, you know, they are relieving a symptom that you could say is created by, you know, like a societal, like a symptom created by, I had a word for that, but that's okay. Or maybe relieving a demographic of people who struggle in that way, which many people, even in the you know, we all people are brought here because we all are afflicted in some capacity. So anyway, I found that before I joined that aspect of the program, you know, I was had a lot of idle time and just having that rhythm of my life to my life and doing things that are crafty, which I did in childhood, and a little bit of and then I feel like it's and then a little bit of payment is also important for people in a special needs position. I think that is a very good thing to do. Very good, yeah, like high charity. Okay, so thank you.
So at this point, thank you so much. I do want to add just a little piece in saying I so appreciate Persephone and Samantha, Laura, what you've prepared to share with us, your stories, as well as this is work. All of us who've set the background up and everything like this are sweating to try to get this together. So totally appreciate and empathize how much it takes to get on the stage we've created here and share your story. So thank you everybody, but specifically you three for putting this together. So at this time, I want to invite you from the audience to have questions, and we have a Q&A mic, but if maybe to make it more expedient, I could just repeat your question, because it may be difficult to get everybody over there. Is that gonna? We can, or we can throw one of those wireless out to pass, and they can answer with the other wireless. Yeah. Either way, I want to make sure our answerers have their wireless as well. So let's start with having questions, and then we'll figure out how to record them. Yeah.
My question is for Sue about Mindful Works. I have stumbled across Mindful Works in Boulder occasionally at some kind of craft festival, such as I think it was last weekend. I saw you at the Firefly Market, and I bought some lovely lotion. And I was wondering if you could tell us, is there some kind of regularity where those of us that live in the area can find you? I've seen you sometimes at the Boulder Farmers Market. Are you there monthly or weekly, or where can your products be seen?
And that was not a plant question, but thank you, Kathy. Yes, we are the Boulder, the farmers markets around here do an artisan fair. And in Boulder, it's the second Saturday of the month, and in Longmont, it's the fourth. And then, yes, we've been so fortunate to participate in Firefly. But you can always find our products online.
But it's really fun to stumble across them and then just see what the selection is.
Right, and to see our booths, right?
Right.
Filled with new stuff. So yes, thank you.
Sure.
And that's what DTC, direct to consumer. That's what we've learned.
And Sue is also open to anyone who knows any contacts at Whole Foods, Alfalfa's, King Supers. You're open to all of that. We used to.
I hope you have a sign up, because there are fundraisers at least once a year. This is what you're describing is one of the most difficult things to keep afloat. It's not easy to keep any kind of business afloat, but this particular type. And please, all of you, if you end up on our fundraising list, or a mailing list, please come to these things. And if you know anybody that has interest in connecting with a really worthwhile, really beneficial activity. And this wasn't planned either.
And I have to interrupt, sorry, Mike, but I just want to say, I don't know if you noticed, and I'm sorry April isn't here who shot the video. I don't know if you noticed once we went into the kitchen and shop, there were no faces. That's true. Right? And people are apprentices, even though we told them this is just for Windhorse, and we're only showing it, we're not putting it on Facebook, we're not putting it on our website. No faces. So that stigma is so strong, even in our world, right? And, I told Michael that I watched the video and I was so disappointed. And I said, it's because the folks said no. So keep in mind when, the bravery of folks here today, but also when we work at a market, our sign says mindful works, employment, confidence, community. It doesn't say, buy our meditation cushion and help someone dealing with depression. Our apprentices, and especially when folks come to work at a market, no. We deal with employment obstacles. That's how we leave it.
Thanks. This has been really great. I think that you touched on that. I know from my own personal experience, I had a huge psychotic break years and years and years ago, and had to rebuild my life. And I think that one of the things that I loved about the work part, that I actually kind of did on my own. I wish that I had had an employment specialist. That would have been awesome. But it was, I was on disability. They tell you can only work a certain amount of time. And so I had to kind of go into and also build the confidence. I had to go into a restaurant and say, hey, I can only work 15 hours. And I needed to show myself that I could be more than what my diagnosis said that I could be. And I think that's the thing that I love about what you just said, is that it's not, I think that when someone has that devastating mental illness or extreme state or whatever we want to call it, the message at the beginning, and maybe it has to be the message at the beginning, but the message at the beginning is like, that's all you are, right? You have to focus on it 100%. And you have to, and sometimes like the psychotherapy piece, I was drawn to that speech, but I also was like, sometimes it gets so old, right? Like I can't talk about myself one more fucking minute. And so, it's like instead, I found that I got my feet from working and not being my illness, and not overly identifying. It was when people would ask, like, oh, must be nice, you can only work for 15 hours a week, I'm like, yeah, I'm a stay-at-home wife. But I was so tempted to like, well, I just had a breakdown and I was in a psychiatric hospital and I was in a program for 6 months and I'm a mess. And having, I was in therapy during that time period too, which was beneficial because it was triggering, like having to kind of lie and be, not lie, like people, you just don't share that stuff, right? But you're so tempted when somebody says like, oh, where'd you come from? You know, it's like hard, you know, I came from hell. You know, that's where I came from. But it's, I really, really do. I'm inspired by this, and I always feel like I'm kind of somebody who, I work in outreach, for Portland and San Luis Obispo and Northampton, but I'm always, and I think this is just my like human condition, my own personal, is like, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I'm like, I want to be an employment specialist. I mean, that would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, it really, because I think about, I think about my own journey, and I think that is underrated and not part of the recovery movement, you know? The fact that it doesn't exist is what I mean. So anyway, this has been wonderful. And I'm always looking for great gifts to give family who, like, what do you give people who have everything? You know, something like meaningful. So, I mean, we don't, anyway, thank you. Thank you.
Can I just make a brief comment on that, Elaine? Thank you for your comment. And just in my role, not as moderator, but as team leader holding groups in community programs, it's been really inspiring to see all the work you're describing as seminal to recovery, as well as the curriculum we're talking about here in the list. Take some work to pull out of what feels like a naturally healing situation where you have value again and you have work, and the product that comes out of that work is strong and wanted. Also, the peer support role or the lived experience on teams has been seminal, both in my experience in Northampton, and we're developing that here. So just to say we're at this cusp of naming and pulling out the clinical and sort of larger value of what's inherent in these positions, and so just appreciating that, the edge of that work that's being described right now.
Yeah, I too am so inspired by the work that you're doing. I work at Windhorse, Northampton, and Elaine, maybe we can partner in some way to get something, I think ideally like Mindful Works off the ground. I have a couple of really practical questions. So I'm wondering about how many clients in Boulder participate. Is there a certain percentage? I'm just going to rattle off a few really practical questions. Additionally, like, what does a typical day look like, or how many hours does that sort of thing happen? Does the work happen on shifts, etc.? And then also, I was a little bit confused. I heard the term apprentice as well as volunteer. I'm wondering if you could define those two. Thank you.
So I'll answer the first one, and then I'm going to have you, Persephone, talk about the shifts and that kind of thing. So currently, we have 10 apprentices. And the apprentices are folks who are referred to us. We have a couple partner agencies. One very valuable is Windhorse Community Services. We also partner with Colorado Recovery. We partner with Mental Health Partners, which is the community mental health center. We get referrals from private practitioners, and most of our referrals come through the Division of Oak Rehab. Okay, because the Division of Oak Rehab is the organization, state funded, that really provides a broader spectrum of services to people who want to work, who want to demonstrate work readiness, right? So currently that's all we have is 10. Those folks, for the most part, are paid Colorado minimum wage, okay? So that is a limiting factor for us. If you're paying everybody, that you have to meet payroll. We also, as mentioned in the video, we are blessed with a number of volunteers. And the volunteers like Laura came in because they love to sew, okay? And they come from various places and they come in and sew and they love it. We also have skilled seamstresses who teach people. Everyone learns how to sew. Right, Persephone? Everyone, boys, girls, old, young. So that's we have currently a wait list from the Division of Oak Rehab. We can only have as many people as we as goods we sell, okay? So we currently have more people and more people on our wait list than we have sales. And that's the gap, you know, that we're always struggling with. So fortunately, we have donors, but as I alluded to, we've gotten into baking. As you saw, we've gotten into dog biscuits, none of which we can sell yet. We have to get through a whole lot of steps around licensing. But we're trying to find more products that appeal to the market that will allow us to hire more people. So do you want to talk about shifts and building stamina from shifts?
I guess. So your question, what? I mean, I guess for me, for an average person who would be positioned there, someone just comes in for, you start with maybe 2 to 3 hours a day. And we've been gradually working at extending that time. And so I think when I started, first it was even just 2-4 hours a week or something. And now it's about 10.
Yeah.
It comes to about 10. So that's enough for someone to, it's a start. I mean, that was the question. Yeah.
Can I add something to that question? So Katie, you asked about shifts. So I used to have the great pleasure of working with Sue and at Mindful Works when it was called Infinitely Simple. And often people would also come on their shifts and work alongside a BA or a team leader. So that was also incorporated into the model as well. So that was a great way to spend your shift time at work. And it was really supportive as well for the whole situation.
Just to say how many days a week?
Oh, it's 3 days a week. And just another thing I observed with the making of these products, as they are related to, a therapeutic program, it's really nice to be able to show, like I have sent some of the things that I've created to the people supporting me here, and they're things that they really like. And so I just wanted to say I have admired that a lot.
Hi, thank you so much, everyone, for talking and sharing. I actually recently graduated from Naropa, recently being 2 weeks ago. Thank you. Yeah, I got my MFA in contemporary theater. And I've been seeing, we just received an email, the alumni and everyone, about this event that was going on. I'm so glad I came because I didn't really know what to expect when coming here. But I had seen a bunch of flyers around Naropa for hiring for elderly care, I believe it was, and had recently applied for that. But now that I'm here and I'm hearing everyone's stories, I'm wondering if you have any sort of I'm very interested in theater for social justice and theater as a way of healing. And I'm wondering if you have any sort of programs like that through Windhorse or are interested in anything like that. I do, improv or, yeah.
Very cool. So that, maybe you could give us your name and phone number.
Absolutely.
And come and visit our program, and we could talk about what kinds of things would you want to do a workshop or
Absolutely,
a class?
yeah.
And we're always open and see if the community, if this is something that would be interesting to them.
Wonderful.
So yeah, that sounds really cool.
Great, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
We do, though, weave in music and art. We have a coffee house, like a talent show.
Oh, fun.
Every, 3 months, 4 months, which is very popular. Yeah. And everyone showcases their talents, and but we don't have any formal training per se. It's just bring your talents, and a lot of music gets played, and there's a lot of very artistic people in our community. So that is part of the activities.
Yeah, I also think there's, in the history of the Windhorse work, Anne-Marie, maybe you could speak to Northampton and what Karen would do there. I thought there was some theater activity there. This was Emery's wife.
Well, within the first couple of years of me being in Northampton, which is in mid to late 90s, we were often hand to mouth, honestly, in terms of money. We were very small back then. So a couple of the community members wanted to put a play on. And then we would charge, and that could be a contribution to us, to our financial security. And my wife, Karen, was a stage manager, and she was involved with a well-known theater group in Northampton. And so we got a grant from the city, which was enough money to hire sleeveless theater members. Karen and one of the members was also a director. And we put on a 3-part play. It was in a venue in town. And we had 3 different showings, and we made over $500, and it was an amazing, amazing experience. It was clients and staff coming together in a 6-week rehearsal that the director facilitated. And so we, from there, had this whole idea of recovery through the arts, using theater, using these kinds of methods. It didn't go much beyond our play, but we talked a lot about it for a while, and it was quite a success, and it was one of the highlights of my first couple years in Northampton.
I just want to respond briefly based on, again, my experience rather than the model, but it's kind of inner and outer circles, because we're a team-based organization. Works becomes something different then, and it's often connected to the relationships that are formed on teams, and so it kind of expands out. The relationship starts often on a team, not always, and then it becomes the coffee house that we're describing is a lot of teams performing for each other, relationships that are known, and then like JoAnn is saying, we often bring in outside specialists who want to offer what they have to whoever's interested. Becomes an outer circle kind of event within Windhorse, and so just to say it's not directly easy to answer because it depends on who you're serving. Yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate getting all this information and hearing about it. I'm a private caretaker for someone, and this has been one of the big struggles that the family and the individual's having. Especially TBI is involved from age of a minor and then extreme states of mind. So it's just one of these things where it's been very, very difficult for us to find any kind of resources or so forth. Trying to go through vocational rehab, actually, different counties. So I'm not sure if you're, what you both work with is specific to Boulder County, but just it was interesting that we haven't heard about these programs with the vocational counselor that's been helping us out, who we're grateful for nonetheless. But just also kind of curious, because this individual didn't have a chance to enter the workforce before getting assaulted with physical trauma and then having lots of emotional traumas come along with that. So just kind of tossing that out there, and I'd love to hear what you all have in response. Thank you.
Do I understand the question is if someone doesn't have a work history?
Yeah, that's part of it, definitely.
Yeah, and where to begin?
Yeah, there's so much that goes into that, just around helping the individual manage daily life activities, to then helping them understand job preparedness. There's also the push and pull of.
Yeah. Well, my first thought is to refer to Mindful Works.
Yeah.
As a start. Are you in Boulder County with this person?
This person kind of bounces back and forth between family members and counties. So, that's also part of the conversation that I have with them.
So I'm thinking that, so DVR will send people to work with us around employment. So we're a vendor of DVR. So we could meet with your person and see if, what kinds of supports and services they're looking for, and to see if that's a good fit for us or for Sue. So we do work with quite a few DVR only. So they're not getting Windhorse services like a team, but they're just working with us around employment. So that is an option.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful.
I'll add one thing. What comes to mind is someone's passion. You know, your friend's passion, and what they're interested in. We worked at Windhorse, have worked with someone for many, many years, decades now, and this person has a lot of physical and mental challenges, and what it became, and so it's saying at some point going, oh, well, let's get you a job. That wasn't quite the next step, you know. It was, oh, what do you have interest in? What is your passion? And what this person came back and said was I want to be of benefit to folks. Well, the person ended up doing some volunteer work at the homeless shelter. And, you know, there's a whole, so I want to highlight the steps. So many steps that can happen that can still support someone feeling of benefit in the world. And work can be part of that progression, of course.
I want to just make sure if the panel wants to say anything else. We're approaching our time right now, or if there's a burning question, how would you like to use the last couple of minutes? You lose if we don't do, yeah. Burning?
I was also just thinking that, so not only employment services, but DVR will pay for our classes as well. So that is something we have, like 4 DVR clients that attend the Thursday class. And it's kind of nice when they can participate with Sue, get some real work experience, and then really get the opportunity to learn some new skills and strategies. So it's a nice coupling.
Was there one more thing in the front? Can you pull the wireless this way? Through, yeah, by passing it, right.
I just want to personally thank all of you for being willing to offer this at the conference. And, you know, obviously I know most of you well, and I love you all, and you've just done an amazing job at the community program level, bringing work through Mindful Works over all of these years, you know, facing so many obstacles. So I just thank you. And this has been a beautiful event, and I really appreciate being here.
There's poofs in the breezeway if you want to go visit the stand at this point.